Hare Krishna. Welcome to a brand new episode of Frankly Speaking with His Holiness Stoka Krishna Maharaj. Shankaracharya in Gita Mahatmya, in the 7 verses glorifying Bhagavad Gita, speaks about the importance of reading Bhagavad Gita every day. He says, simply by reading Bhagavad Gita every day and following its instruction seriously, sincerely, one's devotion to Lord Vishnu increases and is freed from fears and miseries. Further, he goes on to say, simply by reading Bhagavad Gita and following its principles, the effect of sinful life, of the previous lives, won't act upon us in the current scenarios. And he goes on to say, Bhagavad Gita is a divine literature. There is no other literature as great as Bhagavad Gita because it was spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Kṛṣṇa himself. And it is the essence of all Vedic literatures. Simply by reading Bhagavad Gita, we cleanse ourselves and we become eligible to go back home, back to Godhead and solve the problems of miseries of life. In spite of all that, there are a lot of misunderstanding, doubts and fears in the hearts and minds of the people at large regarding reading Bhagavad Gita, keeping Bhagavad Gita at home or purchasing Bhagavad Gita. So in this podcast, His Holiness has cleared all those doubts. Please make sure that you watch this podcast till the end and all your questions will be answered to the utmost best ability possible. Please do subscribe to our channel, like this video, and please do share this message on the auspicious occasion of Gita Jayanti. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Welcome to Frankly Speaking. We started off this podcast with your holy presence, and for the second time we are privileged and honored to have you on Folk Life once again for Frankly Speaking.
Hare Krishna.
Welcome you once again. So this time we'll ponder about the importance of Bhagavad Gita as it is in our lives. By and large, being born in India, being accustomed to Indian culture, Bhagavad Gita is widely read theistic science, but it is misunderstood the most too. In this podcast, we'll try to understand what are the challenges and lacunas which people have about this sacred text and most frequently misunderstood verses or misunderstanding of Bhagavad Gita. So we would request you to share the light of knowledge on what is the right understanding of those aspects which people generally have. Say for example, karm kar phal ki ichcha mat kar, karmanevadikaraste. Once I heard you said it is the most misunderstood verse in the Bhagavad Gita among the common populace. So your words and thoughts on that, Maharaj.
The verse itself, karmanevadikaraste, it is told in a particular context. Krishna is telling Arjuna that you have a right to perform your prescribed duty.
Prescribed duty.
Prescribed duty.
Someone has to prescribe that.
Yeah. The karma word is used in Bhagavad Gita in different contexts with different shades of meaning. Karma in general means work. Okay. But different shades of meaning are there, which is very important to understand in what shade of meaning it's being actually used in the particular context. So here, Krishna is talking about you have a right to do your prescribed duty. So on one side, right, other side is prescribed. So in that sense, it's not like I can do whatever I want. No. So duty itself means something that is, you are bound to do it. If you don't do it, there is some consequence for that. And prescribed means somebody else is telling you what your duty is. You don't decide this is my duty. Like a thief cannot think, my duty is to steal. Right? So like that, prescribed duty, it is prescribed in the scriptures. And where is this said? It's told in the Bhagavad Gita. The famous verse which describes the cycle of Annad bhavanti bhutani. All living beings subsist on food grains. And food grains are produced from rains. Parjanyad anna sambhava. Yajnad bhavati parjanyo. And rains are due to performance of sacrifice. And sacrifice is due to performance of prescribed duties. Yajna karma samudbhavaha. So traditionally Normally people understand sacrifice means a fire has to be there and something has to be poured into the fire.
That's a conventional understanding of sacrifice.
But here sacrifice is used in a very, very different sense. So that's also a sacrifice. But here Krishna is using sacrifice in the sense of do your prescribed duty, and that is sacrifice. And this prescribed duty, where is it prescribed? Karma brahmodbhavam vidhi. Karma here referring to prescribed duty is prescribed in the scriptures. Brahma here refers to Vedic literature, Vedic scriptures. And what is the source of these Vedic scriptures? Brahmakshara samudbhavam. Brahma referring to Vedic scriptures, they are actually given by the Supreme Lord, Krishna.
Majority of the people don't read Bhagavad Gita and they said Krishna ne bola hai, Bhagwan ne bola, karm kar phal ki ichha mat, karm karte jao. That is a shortcoming of this understanding.
So every action, there is some result. But when Krishna says you don't have a right to the result, it means that the result belongs to somebody else.
I do it, I work hard, I slog.
Yes.
And how
somebody else is taking the result.
How do I get motivated to work then?
So a very simple example Prabhupada gives. Supposing you call a carpenter to your home and you give him the material, you give him the design, you give him everything. And he finishes working very hard on making that nice piece of furniture, let's say a table. And then he says, I worked hard, I take the table and go. Does it make any sense?
No.
Similarly, we do work, yes. But who is supplying us the ingredients? Nothing which we use for manufacturing or, making something. The ingredients are all supplied by the Supreme Lord. Nothing is possible to be manufactured by us. Okay. Then the skill with which I use my hands to do something, who is giving that skill? Krishna is giving the skill. That is also explained in the Bhagavad Gita. Paurusham Rishu, 7th chapter, Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says, I am the ability or skill in man, in every human being. So Krishna is giving the skill. Krishna has given us the ingredients. Krishna is giving us the intelligence by which we can utilize the skill to take a piece of wood and make it into a beautiful piece of furniture. So when Krishna is giving everything, to whom does it belong?
It belongs to the Lord.
But you may say that means he gets nothing out of doing so much hard work? No, he is entitled to the labor charges. What would you give him, a carpenter, for doing the nice, preparing the nice piece of furniture? You would give him labor charges. Similarly, we are entitled to labor charges. Now, the labor charges is already given because Krishna is completely maintaining us.
So, this is the actual meaning of the verse.
Meaning of that verse.
It was completely misunderstood. Totally misunderstood. Recently, a politician, or in the Indian political scenario, there was a buzz about Sanatana Dharma, eradicating it. So, does Krishna speak about Sanatana Dharma in the Bhagavad Gita?
Whatever Krishna speaks about Dharma itself is understood to be Sanatana Dharma, because Sanatana Dharma is eternal religion or eternal religious principles. So Krishna is talking from the platform of eternity. We are living on the material platform. Material platform, everything is temporary. Like when I'm a child, what is my duty? To study. But when I grow up, my duty is to work or do some business, earn a livelihood. Okay. When I become old, something else is my duty. So duty keeps changing, but eternal religious principle is the eternal duty of the eternal being.
So what is that eternal duty?
That eternal duty is in relationship, our eternal relationship with the eternal Lord. And that is to serve the Lord.
Okay.
Why serve the Lord? Because He is our maintainer. He is our eternal well-wisher. He is our eternal protector. He is our eternal supplier. That's why eternal service.
So we consider Him as to be eternal maintainer and servitor and protector. That's why we bound to do that.
It's not just considering, it's a fact. Like before the creation, who was there? Only the Lord was there. Who created us? The Lord created us. What was the purpose of the creation? He created us for a particular purpose. What is the purpose? To give us a chance to try to be independent of Him and try to be happy and try to enjoy life. But we always see somebody tries to be independent, they cannot be really happy because there are so many impediments to their happiness, so many conditions under which they are trying to squeeze out happiness out of whatever work they're doing. And they're ultimately, nobody is fully happy, nobody is fully satisfied. So Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, full satisfaction, full happiness is only in relationship with me when you engage in service of me.
Is there any word Sanatana per se in the Gita?
The living entities are described as Sanatana. Eternal. Na jayate mriyate va kadachit nayam bhutva bhavita va nai bhuya. So it is eternal. The eternal occupation, Sanatana Dharma, is eternal occupation. But the word Sanatana itself is used in different places. 11th chapter, the Lord is described as Sanatana. The living entities are described as Sanatana. And the relationship in which they engage in some activity, relationship in this activity, that activity is described as Sanatana.
So this is actual meaning of Sanatana Dharma, and it cannot be eradicated.
It's the eternal characteristic of the living entity.
Okay.
To render eternal service to the Lord. Just like the characteristic of fire is always there is some heat and light.
So you cannot separate it.
You cannot separate heat and light from fire. There can't be a fire which doesn't give out heat. There can't be fire which doesn't give out light.
Cool fire.
No, there's nothing like that.
So that draws on to the next question. The shortcoming of this Sanatana Dharma in the form of Varnasrama Dharma, wherein a certain class of people are revered and respected as the Lord or demigod in that sense, and the other sect of people who doesn't have those abilities or are mistreated, the caste system. So that also is emphasized by the Lord in the Gita.
The caste system is an aberration of what is actually referred in the Bhagavad Gita as Varnasrama.
Aberration in the sense?
It is a misapplication of the Varnasrama principle. The Varnasrama principle is that this civilized human society has got a very lofty goal in life. Now, what people don't understand is, what is the special facility for a human being as compared to all other creatures in the entire creation? After all, humans are creation of the Lord, and all other creatures are also creation of the Lord. But human beings have been given developed intelligence for a higher purpose. What is that higher purpose? To understand who we are, to understand who is God, the Creator, what is our source, and what is the relationship. And to act in that relationship to achieve perfection of our life. That's the whole purpose of this human creation of a human being.
So what does Varnasrama play in for
So
that?
Varnasrama is organizing the society in such a way that people can satisfy their desires for, some enjoyment in this material world, maintain themselves, at the same time progress towards the ultimate goal of realizing oneself, realizing who's God, and realizing the relationship, and re-establishing that forgotten or lost relationship.
So when this is not happening,
then it's a complete misapplication or misunderstanding. Or
how can we correct that misunderstanding?
Correcting that misunderstanding.
Is it possible in the present scenario?
Yes, it is possible. It is possible by actually understanding Bhagavad Gita the proper way from the proper source. Now, for example, Bhagavad Gita, before Prabhupada wrote Bhagavad Gita, he was asked this question: what is the need for writing one more? There's so many translations of Bhagavad Gita already available. You are writing one more. One elderly American lady, when she came to meet Prabhupada, Prabhupada was busy translating the Bhagavad Gita in America in the beginning days of ISKCON. So she asked, what is the need, Swamiji, for one more? So Prabhupada said, I can explain the need that there are so many English editions at least, and devotees testify, Prabhupada's disciples of that time, there are about more than 270 different English translations of the Bhagavad Gita alone all over the world. So what's the need for one more?
In the 70s when this
was In the 70s
asked.
when Prabhupada was translating. So Prabhupada explained, none of them are explaining the Bhagavad Gita according to the way Kṛṣṇa instructed Arjuna. They are all presenting their viewpoint of Bhagavad Gita. Now you take a physics book, somebody writes a physics book. Will they explain Newton's laws in physics according to their viewpoint? And it could be different. It could be slightly different. It could be totally different. It could be and something which two people don't agree at all, but that's not Newton's laws.
G cannot be 11.8 meter per second square.
So that way, if you want to understand what is Krishna's teaching to Arjuna, the way Krishna explained it to Arjuna, so then you have to hear from somebody who is receiving that knowledge and passing it down without any change.
Is that called parampara or sampradaya?
That's called parampara or sampradaya. That's the reason why Prabhupada give the title to his Bhagavad Gita, as it is.
As it is.
As it is. As it is.
As it is means?
As it is means as the way Krishna explained it to Arjuna.
That's why today more than 26 million copies of Bhagavad Gita as it is has been sold.
And the result of reading or studying or following Prabhupada's Gita is the result which we see, the transformation that happened to Arjuna. Arjuna, before he heard the Bhagavad Gita, he had his own view. He had his own idea that I should not fight in this battle. How can I kill my kinsman, etc., etc. But at the end of Bhagavad Gita, when Krishna asks, are all your doubts cleared? He says yes. And then what else is the result of hearing the Bhagavad Gita and understanding my message? He says, my illusion is completely destroyed and I will act according to your instructions.
So you mean to say, if my understanding after reading Gita is different from the understanding of Arjuna, then that is not the right understanding.
That's not the right understanding, because why did Krishna speak Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna? Actually, Arjuna was made as instrument for Krishna to speak to everybody else. Arjuna as a devotee doesn't require any instructions or any direction. He knows. But Krishna put him in such a situation where he asked the relevant questions for the benefit of others.
That brings to the next question. Arjuna in the beginning was hesitant to fight. It seems that Krishna incited him to perform violence to his own kinsmen. No, is it not that kind of a jihad, kind of a Dharma yuddha kind of a thing? You're inciting violence and he didn't want to perform violence.
Okay. So when you say violence, the word violence, it means that somebody is unnecessarily fighting or killing. But here, Krishna says, Arjuna, you must fight for the sake of protecting those who are unnecessarily being harmed by somebody who is
Kauravas?
By the Kauravas who are demoniac nature. Demons' nature, Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita, there are two kinds of people in this world. Dvabhuta sargo lokesmin daiva asura evacha. Then Bhagavad Gita, 16th chapter. So divine nature, demonic nature. What are the difference? Divine nature people, they are inclined to follow the rules, regulations for the sake of peace in the society, for the sake of doing their duty, for the sake of living in harmony.
Civilized citizens.
Civilized citizens. And uncivilized people or those who are demoniac nature, they don't want to follow. They want to do whatever they like to do. They want to lord over others. They want to enjoy independently. And they don't care if others, they exploit others or they harm others who come in their way of their enjoyment. So this is demoniac nature. So demoniac nature is to be curbed. By whom? By Kshatriyas. Kshatriyas means those who protect against harm. The innocent, the weaker sections of society. Just like 5 categories are identified as worthy of special protection, not just protection. Protection, every citizen is entitled to protection. But among the citizens, women, children, old men, brahmanas, that the intellectuals in society who are guiding the society but who are not sufficiently strong to defend themselves. And cows.
The vulnerables. Actually.
Vulnerable. So they are liable for special protection by the king or Kshatriya. And a Kshatriya is one who will use violence when necessary to stop the miscreants or the demoniac people who harm the innocent or the faultless weaker sections of society.
So that's why Arjuna was asked to
That's
do
why
so.
Arjuna was asked specifically to fight against these miscreants. There's a specific target. And the code of conduct in a war like this, a Dharma Yuddha, is a specific set of people assembled in a battlefield. They're called Kshatriyas. They are meant to protect the citizens. So they will fight. Only one Kshatriya will kill another Kshatriya. He will not kill a common citizen. It may be, let's say, one province and another province, two kings. They are fighting for supremacy over each other's province, let's say. Now, if they fight, they're going to assemble in a battlefield. There's something called a battlefield. The concept doesn't exist nowadays. Battlefield means a place where the battle is going to fought. And specific people come to the battlefield to fight. And there are two sides. Right? And they have a code of conduct. Like the Pandavas and Kauravas, they would start the fighting at a designated time. Let's say after sunrise, some particular time. And each one will wait till the other is ready. Like in the Bhagavad Gita, as example, they blew the conch shells to indicate now we are ready. And both sides blew the conch shells, now they're ready to fight. But then, when battle is about to begin, both sides have blown their conch shells. Suddenly, Arjuna is having some consultation with Kṛṣṇa. Kauravas are waiting. They didn't start shooting arrows against the enemy. They could have taken advantage and finished off Arjuna right there. No, they will not do that. So there is a code of conduct, and only Kshatriyas will be participating in the battle. The common citizens, they are not at all unsafe. Irrespective of who is powerful, who defeats whom, it doesn't matter. So when there is a code of conduct and the principles are followed, and it's only to protect the innocent victims of such miscreants that violence is used ever, and no other reason for using violence, then how can you say violence is bad or wrong?
Then it is called Dharma Yuddha.
Dharma Yuddha. When these principles are followed, and it's only against violence, against miscreants who are unnecessarily troubling the innocent.
According to the Bhagavad Gita, there is one set of dharma, but there are other religions. For them, their dharma is another set of rules and regulations, and there's a quarrel between each other. There's a fight and misunderstanding between each other, wanting to prove their supremacy of their dharma. So how do you understand that?
So dharma is not based on some person's own principles. Self-made dharma is not dharma. Just like Prabhupada gives the example, law. If you're living in a state, the law is given by the government. You cannot sit at home and make your own laws. Right? That is ridiculous. That nobody will accept. Similarly, dharma means the law is given by God. And God is one. Now, when you say God is one, somebody will say, my God is different from your God. No, God is one. So Prabhupada says, God may be called as Allah in a particular bonafide religious system called Islam. God may be called as Christ in another religious system. God is called Kṛṣṇa in Bhagavad Gita or Vedic religious principles, called Vedic religion. So that Kṛṣṇa, Christ and Allah are different names of the same person. So when person is one, then his laws are also same. But then the extent to which or the way in which dharma is revealed to different people at different times, that there is some variation. So Prabhupada explains, just like there is a pocket dictionary and there is an unabridged dictionary. A pocket dictionary will have just few words, enough for a small beginner in English language.
Which is the pocket dictionary and which is the
So when we see some scripture is not having too many details about dharma. So that is the one, obviously.
Details means
just like, for example, there's one book called the Bible. This for those who follow Christian religion. There is one book called the Quran. Now Vedas, when you say Vedas, it is not one book. It is all kinds of knowledge, all branches and departments of knowledge. So you cannot put a cap on what is Veda. Veda means knowledge. Now what we call the Vedic scriptures, there are different types of scriptures. It's a very big subject. Bhagavad Gita is the essence of the Vedic wisdom as regards following some principles in order to live a life to attain that ultimate goal of understanding who I am, who is God, what is my relationship with God. This is a specific purpose of Krishna speaking the Bhagavad Gita.
Since you come to this aspect of specific use of or purpose of Bhagavad Gita, what is the specialty of Bhagavad Gita that the whole world is trying to follow, trying to understand or eulogize it? What is in Bhagavad Gita that makes it very special? That is a face of Sanatana Dharma or Hinduism.
In Bhagavad Gita, God is directly speaking, and God is presenting himself the way he is in his original form in the spiritual world. Whereas all other incarnations of God or messengers of God or messiahs or son of God, they are all presenting God's teaching without God being present personally for people to know how does God look like, what are his original words that way. Though the messiahs, the genuine messiahs and genuine messengers present the word of God only, that is true, then only it's a bona fide religion. Okay. But still, here God is directly speaking. So there's no question of somebody doubting whether this person is speaking accurately or correctly, because God is directly speaking.
Okay, here the specialty is the Supreme Personality of God
is directly speaking, and he is directly presenting himself the way he is in his original form.
Okay, that is a special feature of this particular Bhagavad Gita. So what most of the youngsters would be watching is, why should I read this Gita? It was spoken, say, 5,153 years ago. Okay. The Gita Jayanti is coming in few days. So why something which is thousands of years old is practically applicable for me right now?
Because this is timeless wisdom.
Timeless wisdom.
Timeless wisdom.
Okay.
The principles described in the Bhagavad Gita, just like Bhagavad Gita says, anyone who has taken birth is sure to die.
Timeless.
Now, this is timeless. It is not something only applicable for our time or was something applicable only during the time of Kṛṣṇa, 5,000 years back when he appeared. No. So, timeless wisdom is there. And all the principles are eternal principles.
Why would a boomer or a Gen Z, current generation students would love to read this? What is in it which you can attract them to refer this book?
If they want to make a permanent solution to all their problems, irrespective of who they are or what their problem is, this is the only book which can give solution to everybody. It is a universal solution for the fundamental problems of life. The Bhagavad Gita highlights this. There are so many varieties of problems people face. But Bhagavad Gita says there are some four fundamental problems. Four fundamental problems. Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi. Birth, death, disease and old age. Nobody likes death. Nobody likes old age. Nobody likes disease. Now, birth also is a problem. That's a different thing. In 9 months in the mother's womb, in an airtight sack with all kinds of secretions, it is
it's common to all.
It's common to all. It's
unsolvable.
It's unsolvable if you don't stop the repetition of birth. And that's what Bhagavad Gita describes.
How can we solve? What is the message in the Bhagavad Gita?
The message in the Bhagavad Gita is, why is it that you are taking birth? You are eternal. You are spirit. You don't have birth. You don't have death. But you are forced to accept birth because you want to enjoy in this world. And in this world, this body is a suitable instrument for enjoyment. So if you understand this body as an instrument for my enjoyment according to my desire to enjoy, that's why there are varieties of bodies, because varieties of desires for enjoyment. But we are not meant to enjoy materially, because this material enjoyment is very, very short-lived. It doesn't fully satisfy us, and it is not comprehensive. Like we have got 5 senses. 5 senses we enjoy 5 different ways. For the tongue is for the taste of some edible. Ears is for hearing some sound, some pleasing sound. Eyes is for seeing some beautiful form. Now we try to enjoy in different ways something beautiful, something tasty, something pleasing for the ears. But real pleasure is beyond all this.
Is it?
That real pleasure is something beyond all this.
How do you experience that real pleasure being in this?
Real pleasure you can experience when you follow Krishna's instruction. You become my devotee. You engage in my devotional service. So in devotional service, the pleasure is beyond all these momentary pleasures of taste or smell. So that is in the loving relationship with Krishna. And when we say service, it is not like the service we do in this material world. It's not like that. It is a loving exchange of love between the Lord and His beloved,
so
the devotee.
If I understood you properly, Your Holiness, Krishna is coming to this material world to tell, engage yourself in my service, then you get the pleasure.
Then you get a pleasure. But engage in yourself in my loving service.
Loving service.
Not forced service. Forced service is not service.
I can deny the service also.
You can deny. And that's what people are doing in this material world. And that's why they are in this position of not becoming happy in spite of all their endeavors, in spite of unlimited, whatever amount of wealth, whatever position, whatever possessions, whatever kind of relationships.
In other words, it's an open love letter of the Supreme Lord to the whole living entity.
And he says, in the 4th chapter, he says, every living entity is my own part and every living entity belongs to me and I am their topmost well-wisher, I am their maintainer. So this is missed out. Bhagavad Gita, so many people read. Who knows that Krishna is my Lord, is my well-wisher, is our common father? People talk of international brotherhood. Now, how is international brotherhood possible? Unless there is one common father. Why do we say two of us are brothers? Because we have got a common father. So that common father is God or Krishna.
Now, going to the few other controversies or misunderstanding
of Bhagavad
Gita. One such misunderstanding is, one is the caste system which you cleared up. Another thing is, Krishna considers women to be less intelligent or a papa yoniya. Is that the right understanding?
That's not the correct understanding. Krishna there says, anyone can approach him through the method of bhakti and become his devotee and transcend all their limitations and become perfect, irrespective of what their background is or what their past has been. So we can understand by the way people take birth. People are born in different circumstances, in different backgrounds, right?
Next life they can be women.
We see that in the society anyway. It's not that Krishna is created like that. That is one important. Krishna is the creator, yes. But he creates according to our past actions. He gives us a body according to our past actions. So if I have done pious activities in my past, I get a relatively good birth, so-called good birth. If I have done a lot of sinful activities, I get a birth in a family of poor people, or birth in a family which is engaged in.
So it's my doing which makes
my doing which is responsible for me to take birth in a particular situation with a particular.
So even though it is my doing, if I render devotional service, Lord is ready
to completely free me from all the reactions.
That's the real import of that.
That's really import of that verse. Now here Krishna says, in the society, there are some category of people who are more intelligent, who are more pious, who are more having better advantages in terms of their family situation, in terms of skill, in terms of intelligence, in terms of their association, influence, etc. There are people who are less advantageous position, okay, due to their own past. But Krishna said, it doesn't matter what your past is.
He is equal to everyone.
He is equal to everyone and he is inviting, because everybody is his child. Just like a father, theoretically you think, father has got 10 children. Of course, formerly their parents used to have more children, okay. 10 sons, among the 10 sons, one son is very bright, very intelligent, very handsome, very good in all his academics, everything. And he is very dutiful, very good. Another son is not so intelligent. Another son is yet very, very less intelligent. He somehow is not able to pick up in school, cope up with this thing. Now, father will not neglect that son and only be attentive to the Father says, all are my children means he is equally concerned about every one of them. So similarly, the Lord is the Supreme Lord. He claims everyone as his children. So he is equally attentive to everybody. And what is the proof that he is equal to everybody? He is seated in everyone's heart. And he is just waiting when this particular soul, who is my child, will turn towards me. The very reason why we are here is because we turned away from the Lord. And why did you turn away from the Lord? I want to be independently happy.
That's why Lord appears to call us back.
Call us back, to remind us, you belong to me.
And that same message is misunderstood by the people.
Misunderstood by people.
What can the Lord do?
So, but the Lord doesn't give up. See, he is in our heart. Life after life, we keep changing bodies. He comes with us. Whether we go to hell or go to heaven. And going to hell or heaven is according to our own
He doesn't send us.
He doesn't, he's not responsible for that. But he's always waiting to guide us, for us to accept his instructions, his guidance in our heart. Moment we show little interest, immediately he becomes very much active in terms of directing us, guiding us.
If there's a specific thing which one who is hearing has to do to get the instruction or guidance from the Lord, what should he do? Based on
what Kṛṣṇa says in the Bhagavad Gita, you have to approach a spiritual master who's my representative.
It is also mentioned in the Gita.
That is also mentioned in the Gita. Tad viddhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshantite jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshina. So such a spiritual master is qualified that he knows me, the absolute truth. And he is my representative who actually teaches what I have taught in the Bhagavad Gita as it is. You see? And he will be the perfect guide for you.
How do you recognize such a person?
Such a person is recognized by his qualification.
What are the qualifications?
Just like how do you recognize a bona fide doctor? So there are some ways of doing that. Similarly, there is a way of, in the Bhagavad Gita itself it's told, what are the characteristics of a bona fide spiritual master?
Can you share a few words?
Less like Jnaninaha. He is having knowledge about God, about living entity and about the relationship. Exactly what is told in the Bhagavad Gita, he has knowledge of that. And his life is led according to whatever Kṛṣṇa has taught in the Bhagavad Gita. He does not deviate from any of the instructions of Kṛṣṇa. His life is an example of how to live a life according to the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita.
Is that person has to be from the parampara? How important is the parampara?
Parampara is important because what is the source of his understanding? Suppose he says, I am going to explain Bhagavad Gita exactly as Kṛṣṇa taught Arjuna. Now, how did you get to know what Kṛṣṇa taught Arjuna? Because you are not his contemporary. So, I heard it from a master who has heard it from his master, who has heard it from his master, tracing back to Kṛṣṇa. And that's what Prabhupada says at the end of the introduction of Bhagavad Gita. I am receiving this knowledge in parampara, an unbroken chain of disciplic succession, where the knowledge is handed down without change, coming from Kṛṣṇa.
Just like an authorized university recognized by government of India, say, for example. Okay. Now, talking about another controversy of Bhagavad Gita as it is of ISKCON, there's a terminology which is used by Swami Prabhupada as demigod, addressing the devotees in particular. Is it not belittling the other devotees? What is the position of other personalities in our Vedic literatures according to the Gita?
In Gita and in the Vedic literature, it's clearly said there's one Supreme Lord and there are many others. All we say living entities or jiva. Now, jivas, according to their past karma, they have got different positions in this material world. Different degrees of wealth or beauty or strength or different facilities.
Means all these personalities are not equal to Supreme
Not equal to Supreme Lord because they are all dependent. They are all given empowerment by the Supreme Lord for doing whatever they are supposed to do, like that.
They are not equally powerful as the Supreme Lord.
The difference between any person and the Supreme Lord is always unlimited. Everyone is limited. So, limited beings, they have a gradation. Somebody is, for example, Prabhupada says, you have some wealth. I may have more wealth than you. Somebody else may have more wealth than me. Like this, we can have gradation from the richest person up to the poorest man in a particular, let's say, in a country or in the world. Yes. But Kṛṣṇa is the one who possesses all the wealth.
All the wealth.
All the wealth. Aishwaryasya samagrasya.
He'll be always on the top list of Forbes.
No, you cannot compare how much wealth he has.
Okay.
Because whatever wealth I have is only a small portion, a very, very tiny fragment of wealth Kṛṣṇa has. Besides that, this wealth is given to me by Kṛṣṇa only. What is the source of my wealth? After Khaliyat hai, Khaliyat jayenge.
Yeah.
So where did I get this wealth from? I got it from Kṛṣṇa, who was there before the creation began.
So that's why it is mentioned Bhagavan Uvacha. What is Bhagavan?
Bhagavan means the Supreme Lord who has unlimited wealth, unlimited strength, unlimited everything.
So,
and is the source of everyone else's wealth, strength, power, etc.
and no one is equal to him, or
No one
greater
is
than
equal to him, or no one is greater than him.
So someone who reads Bhagavad Gita, a person who is not from the parampara would say Kṛṣṇa is boasting himself, he is the greatest, he is the equal, he is the egoistic person telling
But
and
Kṛṣṇa
belittling others.
Kṛṣṇa proved that, not just empty claim. Kṛṣṇa proved that. When Kṛṣṇa showed the universal form, he showed what is the extent to which he has got power, he has got wealth, he has got strength, he has got opulences.
In one instance, I was speaking about the supremacy of the Lord one person, and he said, when I said Kṛṣṇa is the supreme personality of God, and that's our administrators playing the respective roles, then he said, you're also talking like an Abrahamic religion. Jesus is the only way, Allah is the supreme entity. So you're also talking in terms of their tone and language.
Actually, we have nothing to do with other sects in a sense that we have got a clear understanding coming in our parampara. Okay. Now, if we try to compare what others are telling, Prabhupada has clearly explained that God is one, and the bona fide religious principles are talking about that God and his teachings only. Okay. Now, we can see so many common things which are the basic principles of all religious systems. What is that? That we are all children of God. God is our topmost well-wisher, maintainer, our provider, everything. And it is to that God that we have to return. All religions talk about this.
This is common denominator.
It's a common denominator. Now the details vary according to the time, place, circumstances. Different prophets, different incarnations, different teachers have revealed different aspects of our practice. Just like now we have so much technology. So Prabhupada used this technology to communicate, to actually
spread the
message, etc. Now, 500 years back, the technology was not there. So whatever was available then, that was the means of spreading the teachings. So accordingly, the basic message is communicated in different ways, and also the degree to which a person can understand. Just like the example is given, river is flowing, so much water is there in the river. But a person who goes to bring water from the river depends on the size of the vessel he or she takes.
Just like Jesus Christ told to his intimate disciples, I have many more things to share, but you're not ready to take it.
You are not ready to receive it. Not ready to take it, ready to receive it because of the size of the container you're holding. Now, is the river water limited to the size of the container people are taking? No. They can bring bigger container, take more water they can bring. So similarly, everybody has got different degrees of intelligence that we see all around in our society. So the intelligent people, the most intelligent people, what they can understand, Kṛṣṇa was speaking to particularly them.
So mean to say, this is meant for exclusively the top-notch intelligent class of people
who can understand what the message is. But Kṛṣṇa says, if you are not sufficiently intelligent, I will show you a way by which you can become sufficiently intelligent to understand this.
That is also given.
That is also given in the Bhagavad Gita.
Lord is so merciful.
That is exactly what Kṛṣṇa says. Anybody who follows my instructions and thereby becomes my devotee will become sufficiently intelligent to understand my message and achieve perfection.
Because the person with whom
it is just like somebody has got to appear for an aptitude exam, aptitude test, or qualifying exam for entering a medical college. Okay, somebody says, I want to enter medical college, but I don't have sufficient aptitude to clear the test. Now, there will be somebody who will say, I'll coach you and make you sufficiently qualified to write the test and clear. Now, Kṛṣṇa is giving both. He is giving the instructions for those who can understand and follow and achieve perfection. He is also giving methodology called Bhakti, by which even a person who is not intelligent enough to understand his instructions will become sufficiently intelligent. And that's what he says. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam. So if you become my devotee and follow my instructions to practice Bhakti Yoga, I will give you the intelligence by which you can come to me. So one cannot remain unintelligent after practicing Bhakti. This is the point.
The Lord gives the question paper, He coaches you, He helps you to clear the examination in that sense.
Then somebody may say, what is the need for God to give me the question paper and expect me to clear? This is exactly the point, that we have come here of our own free will. So why are we here? Because of a misuse of our free will. So Lord is actually instructing us or enlightening us that you always have the free will. And if you don't properly utilize your free will,
it's your choice.
It's your choice. But you're going to remain in this condition.
Consequence you have to suffer.
Consequence, it's your choice. So you can choose to be in the material world or spiritual world. So choice is yours. Now if you want to be in the material world, I have provided you the material world. Then somebody will say, why not you make the material world same as spiritual world? Then that's not free will. See, free will is, you want to be independent of Kṛṣṇa, you want to be forgetful of Kṛṣṇa.
Be it. Now that brings to the next question when you said Bhakti Yoga. In Bhagavad Gita, Kṛṣṇa speaks about many types of yogas.
Yes.
Now, accusation on ISKCON's Gita, or as it is you exclusively, explicitly focus on every page the aspect of Bhakti. How do you understand this? How do you defend this?
So, Kṛṣṇa explains in the 6th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita that different yoga systems described in the Bhagavad Gita, 4 yoga systems, basically yoga of action, karma yoga, yoga of knowledge, cultivating knowledge, jnana yoga, yoga of meditation, dhyana yoga, and bhakti yoga, yoga of devotion. Okay. Now these 4, Kṛṣṇa says, are like a ladder.
Yoga says that in the Gita?
He says in the Gita, ladder. In the last verse of 6th chapter, he says, among all these yogis, the topmost yogi is the bhakti yogi. But he also says there is a gradation. That one begins at karma yoga. And then one progresses, when one perfects karma yoga, one comes to the level of jnana yoga.
Before we go further, Your Holiness, what is karma yoga briefly? So that
karma yoga is performing activities in accordance with the instructions in the Bhagavad Gita, so that you don't incur what is called as sinful reactions. You can perform 2 types of activities. In ignorance, people don't know what I should do and what I should not do. So karma yoga basically instructs them, don't do sinful activities. Sinful activities are those activities which are meant for harming others, which are meant for exploiting others, which are meant for doing some injustice to others, etc. And pious activities are those which are meant for, good of everybody, and it also helps you to actually get what you want without.
That's karma yoga in simple words.
Karma yoga in simple words. And jnana yoga is the knowledge by which we can understand who I am. See, karma yoga, okay, you do all good activities, you do follow whatever.
Actions minus knowledge.
Actions, but not performed with the understanding, I desire, let's say, happiness. But unless I understand who I am, what kind of happiness will really satisfy me?
So, for you, you have to come to Jnana Yoga.
Jnana Yoga. So, Jnana Yoga, the basic understanding is I am not this body. So, everything put in the body is temporary and just meant for immediate utility. That's all. So, as spirit soul, what is that I am and what is it that I should do? Now, Kṛṣṇa is also a spiritual being. He is spirit. Supreme Spirit. I am very tiny spirit, his part, his child. Okay. Now this body is actually neither required really for me, nor does Krishna ever have any use for material body. So Krishna never takes a material body because he doesn't require it. But I have to accept because I desire to enjoy independent of Krishna in the material world. Only it's possible. And for that I require material body. But material body comes with disadvantages also. It is subject to death. It is subject to old age. That's the very nature of matter.
These are all part of the Jnana Yoga process.
Jnana Yoga process. Understanding all this. Then Ashtanga Yoga, application of that jnana, that if I am not this body,
next what?
I am spirit soul, and I want the spiritual happiness which is eternal. I want spiritual life which is eternal. So then what should I do to actually change my set of activities, change my entire this thing? For that I have to do what is called as meditation.
So Ashtanga Yoga.
Ashtanga Yoga.
The third one in the ladder.
Now Ashtanga Yoga is a gradual progression from Karma Yoga to Jnana Yoga to Ashtanga Yoga. But somebody who doesn't want to go through this step by step, just like Prabhupada gives the example, in a multi-story building, there are steps and there is also elevator.
Yeah.
So if you take the elevator, you can directly go to the topmost floor. But if you take the steps, you have to go one step at a time to reach gradually the topmost floor. So if somebody is, if there is an elevator available, then you take the elevator, you directly go to the topmost thing. You don't have to go step by step. Directly go to the topmost. So Bhakti Yoga is the ultimate culmination of all yoga systems. As I said, Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, Bhakti Yoga. Or Dhyana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga. So Bhakti Yoga is the ultimate goal for everyone. But some people cannot take to Bhakti immediately. So for them to prepare them to come to the point of Bhakti, they have to go through Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, or Dhyana Yoga and Bhakti Yoga. But by coming in contact with a pure devotee like Prabhupada, he can give Bhakti to anybody, in any situation. Just like he says, the aspects of Bhakti which anybody can practice is this aspect of chanting the holy name of God. So if somebody chants the holy name of God, whether they are at the level of Karma Yoga or Jnana Yoga or Ashtanga Yoga, or they not even begun any yoga practice, they're totally ignorant about yoga itself or God itself, they're godless. Anybody who chants the holy name can immediately come to the level of Bhakti Yoga, beginning by practice of Bhakti Yoga, and can directly achieve the perfection.
So what is that verse which you says, this is Bhakti Yoga is the topmost?
Yoginam api sarvesham madgaten antaratmana shraddhavan bhajate yomam same yukta tamo mataha.
Krishna himself is telling.
Krishna himself is telling, he's the topmost yogi. There are different types of yogis, Karma Yogi, Jnana Yogi, Dhyana Yogi, Bhakti Yogi. Who is what? What level? So clearly he says.
Now, this brings down to the next question with the same accusation. Like you said, Bhakti Yoga is the topmost because Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita. Now, where in the Bhagavad Gita that chanting of Hare Krishna mantra is recommended?
Okay.
You ISKCON people are chanting throughout the day. Where did Krishna mention you have to chant Hare
Krishna says you have to practice Bhakti. Now, the details of Bhakti is very vast. It is not given in the Bhagavad Gita. The details of Bhakti are not given. But Krishna does say that there is a characteristic of my devotees who achieve perfection. What is that? They're constantly engaged in singing my glories. Satatam kirtayanto maam yatantascha dridhavrataha.
Verse from the Bhagavad Gita.
Verse from the Bhagavad Gita. This is the 9th chapter, 14th verse. So they're always engaged in glorifying me by singing my glories. And by singing such glories, they are getting unlimited joy. Machitta madgata prana bodhayanta parasparam kathayantascha mam nityam tushyanticha ramanticha. They are completely blissful and they are fully satisfied. Everybody is looking for two things, ultimately. Satisfaction and happiness or pleasure. So this highest pleasure and highest satisfaction, Krishna says, are only for my devotees who are engaged in my pure devotional service. So Bhakti Yoga is not just devotional service, pure devotional service. Devotional service is whether somebody does Karma Yoga or Jnana Yoga or Dhyana Yoga. Because Karma yoga is following Krishna's instructions to act properly. Jnana yoga is the knowledge given by Krishna about who we are. And Ashtanga yoga is meditation on Krishna in the form of the super soul in the heart, in the form of Paramatma. So all are bhakti, all are devotional only. But pure devotional is bhakti, where exclusively one targets Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in his feature as Bhagavan, and one actually understands the direct relationship we have with Bhagavan.
Because recently one so-called Acharya said, Bhagwan ने अर्जुन को थोड़ी रोड में गीता बेचने के लिए बोला था, डांस करने के लिए बोला था, आप इस्कॉन वाले हमेशा ऐसे नाचते रहते, गीता बांटते रहते, भगवान ने कहा?
So Krishna says, my devotees are always engaged in glorifying me. So what are the devotees of ISKCON doing? Always glorifying Krishna. How are they glorifying Krishna? First of all, by singing, by dancing. When you sing Krishna's glories, you naturally become joyful. Expression of joy, one of the ways expressing joy is when you dance. So like people, they want to hear some nice song and they also want to dance. It's a natural thing.
Because he says Krishna is asking Arjuna to get up and fight and do it. Now you ISKCON people are doing something else. This is
so Krishna is telling Arjuna to fight when it comes to doing his duty. But Krishna also says, you become my devotee. That's higher instruction than just doing the duty.
Where does he say that?
So that he says in the 18th chapter, 64th verse, he says, I've given you so many instructions. Now listen to my topmost instruction and my most confidential instruction. Sarva guhyatamam bhuyaha shunume paramam vachaha. Guhyatamam is the most confidential. And guhyatamam is the most confidential. And paramam vachaha, the supreme instruction. What is that? Man mana, think of me always. So how to think of Krishna always? According to time, place, circumstance, acharyas are telling us how we can think of Krishna always. So thinking of Krishna always is possible by constantly chanting his name, by singing his name. Bhavamad bhakto, become my devotee. Becoming devotee means devoted to Krishna for his mission in this material world. His mission is to make everybody devotee and take them back to his personal abode to enjoy life in his association in full knowledge and full bliss. That is Krishna's whole purpose of this creation itself. That is missed out by people. They don't know why this world is created.
So that the Parampara Acharya tells
according to this.
Now, there's another accusation on ISKCON on Bhagavad Gita as it is. Krishna asked Arjuna to follow his duty and do the Dharma of Kshatriya and kill the enemies and do violence.
That is as far as doing his duty is concerned.
Now, ISKCON per se brainwashes the youngsters to give up their career, give up their responsibilities, duties. So, how does it actually make sense with what Krishna says in the Gita?
Okay. Now, ISKCON is specifically Prabhupada's mission to actually educate and tell everybody who we are, why are you suffering, what is the fundamental cause of your suffering, etc., etc. Now, to do this exclusively is Prabhupada's mission in this material world, for doing welfare activity for the whole society. Prabhupada not just thinking of himself or just some few people who are interested in what I am teaching. No, he wants to do welfare activity for the, just like Krishna he comes for welfare of everybody. He is meant for welfare of everybody. Prabhupada also, following Krishna's footsteps, is meant for everyone's welfare. So Prabhupada has started a movement, the Krishna conscious movement or Hare Krishna movement or ISKCON movement. In this movement, he wants some few people who can dedicate their life for furthering the mission of Krishna, for furthering the mission which he has started, for doing welfare activity for the whole world. Some few people, if they dedicate themselves for this cause, just like some people join the army to defend the nation. Now you can say, some parents will say, my son's life is at risk, why he should join the army? Some few people who got the spirit and who are willing to sacrifice their life. Yes, there is some danger that they may get killed in a battle, but they are protecting us, the common people. Similarly, some few people give up, sacrifice their career for a higher cause, for a higher good of the whole society.
For that
purpose. It's not that we are expecting everybody will end up like give up, stop whatever they're doing. No, that is not the idea.
In fact, everyone cannot become
Everyone
also.
cannot become also. It's not possible. So those who can and willing to sacrifice, it's voluntary. And those who can do it.
But I can follow the principles of
You
Bhagavad
can follow
Gita
Gita
being
without joining as a full-time missionary, being at your home. And that's how majority of the devotees who are following ISKCON principles are regular householders, regular people having career, having job, they're housewives, there are students, everybody can follow. And they are following.
like a devotee in the temple can follow Krishna's instruction fully, but those who are
No, more than following the instructions, he is actually teaching others, he's distributing this knowledge without diverting his attention to his own, earning his own livelihood, etc.
sacrifice.
Sacrifice. He's doing a sacrifice.
So for the audience who doesn't know how to practice the principles of Bhagavad Gita, being at the comfort of their home,
They can practice.
Can you share a few things which they can do?
Just like simple things. Anybody can
One.
chant
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna at home. Somebody can actually read or study or hear Bhagavad Gita, understand what are the teachings in the Bhagavad Gita, read Bhagavad Gita. Somebody can actually worship Krishna. Now, worshipping Krishna is acknowledging whatever Krishna has given us. That's all. So you worship Krishna by offering a flower or a fruit or some water or some leaf.
As simple as that.
As simple as that. Krishna says that.
Anyone can do that.
Anyone can do it. And then that is just acknowledging whatever Krishna is giving us. And these are all activities meant to help us revive our loving relationship with Krishna, which is always there. Prabhupada said, just like a child is separated from its parents. And the parents are waiting when the child will come back home. So Krishna is likewise waiting. When are we going to return to him? Because we belong to him. We are like the lost children of Krishna. Now Krishna knows we are here. Therefore he comes here to instruct us. In the spiritual world, there is no need of instruction. Everybody is with him and everybody is living happily with him.
So means these ISKCON devotees are assisting the Lord in spreading his mission,
his message. His message, which is to reunite all the lost children or forgetful children with the Supreme Father, who is the loving Father, who is waiting for us to go. But Krishna does not force anybody, you come back. Jabardasti kisi ko nahi le jayega Krishna. If you say, I don't want to, Krishna will say, okay. But he'll wait. He'll not give up. Krishna never gives up.
Krishna never gives up.
Like Krishna never gives up.
Another accusation, you say it is as it is. But Vyasadeva in the Mahabharata names the chapters of the Gita in different way, and the ISKCON founder Acharya names it differently. How is it as it is?
See, for example, the second chapter, Sankhya Yoga, is what Vyasadeva has given him. Prabhupada says, contents of the Gita summarized. Now, Sankhya Yoga is one way of naming the chapter because Sankhya Yoga is explained in the second chapter. So Prabhupada says that this second chapter explains Sankhya Yoga, and Krishna himself says Eshate Abhita Sankhya. He says that. Okay, fine. But this contents of the Gita summarized is a more generic understanding of what second chapter is. Like first chapter is like the introduction of the Gita, describing setting the scene and what are the circumstances in which Arjuna was completely confused about his duty. And then Krishna begins instructing from second chapter. When Arjuna says, I submit to you, you kindly instruct me what is my duty under the circumstances. Okay. So first chapter is the introduction. Second chapter is the entire Gita is summarized. The 4 yoga systems that is there in the Gita is all described in brief in little bits in the second chapter. So one of the acharyas who has written a commentary on the Gita, he has described the second chapter as being the summary of the contents of the entire text. And 18th chapter is a supplementary summarization of all the topics discussed. So second chapter, Prabhupada calls it contents of the Gita summarized. 18th chapter is conclusion, the perfection of renunciation. So conclusion, he says conclusion. So 18th chapter is the conclusion. So that way, he is not deviating from what Vyasadeva is describing as the title of the chapter, but he is giving it a more elaborate description of what is the chapter about. That's okay.
Another common notion among the people at large. We find it at most of the Hindus' house. It will be kept in their house, like Gita ka Sar written, Arjuna's and Krishna's photo. Sar says, what is the Sar?
जो कुछ भी हो रहा है,
जो हो रहा है अच्छे के लिए हो रहा है, जो हो रहा है अच्छे के लिए हो रहा है, जो भी होगा वो भी अच्छे के लिए हुआ. तो
जो हुआ था वो भी अच्छे के लिए हो रहा था. I have read this. I have heard this.
तुम क्या लेके आए थे, क्या लेके जाओगे, ये सारे भगवत गीता का. Is it true?
No, that's not what the Bhagavad Gita says. Where in the Bhagavad Gita it is told like that? No. Bhagavad Gita it is told very clearly, the essence of the Gita is the 11th chapter, 55th verse. Prabhupada says that.
11th chapter?
55th verse, the last verse of the 11th chapter. He says, Krishna says, mat karmakrit, mat paramo, mat bhakta sangavarjita, nirvaira sarvabhuteshu, yassamameti pandava. So Krishna ultimately says, you have to come back to me. You belong to me. You come back to me. And for that, you have to follow my instructions. Do what I say you to do. Become my devotee. By doing that, you become Krishna's devotee. And when you become Krishna's devotee, Krishna will give you the intelligence by which he will guide you step by step how you can go back to him.
So this is the Sar,
the
essence.
Sar of Gita. Where is it said that kuch bhi ho raha hai, achha ke liye ho raha hai? But there is some truth in that whatever Krishna did, whatever Krishna is doing now, and whatever Krishna is doing in future is always for everyone's good. That can be said as one of the things in the Gita. Because Krishna says, I am everybody's well-wisher eternally.
So whatever
a well-wisher will always do what is good for us. He'll never do anything which is harmful for us. Or he'll never be indifferent to us. If he's a well-wisher, he'll never be indifferent to us. So that is a kind of a partial truth, but not put properly. So it should be said, जो कुछ कृष्णा ने किया वो सबका अच्छे के लिए किया. जो अभी कर रहे हैं भगवान वो भी अच्छे के लिए कर रहे हैं. जो भविष्य में करेंगे वो भी अच्छा के लिए करेंगे. So Krishna is all good. God is all good.
So another thing was
that if you keep Bhagavad Gita in the house, it will bring about quarrel.
Correct.
It is not auspicious to keep
Bhagavad Gita. तो लड़ाई हो जाएगी. भगवान ने दो फैमिली के बीच लड़ाई करा दिया.
Arjuna was telling, I don't want to fight. And he
Kṛṣṇa.
said, I don't mind forsaking my claim for the property. Let there be no fight. Because so much killing will happen.
If I keep Gita in my house, लड़ाई हो जाएगा. So this is another very common misunderstanding among people.
The end of the Bhagavad Gita, the last verse, Arjuna, Sanjaya says, Yatra Yogeshwara Krishno Yatra Partho Dhanurdhara Tatra. Wherever there is Krishna and Arjuna, wherever there is Bhagavad Gita, Tatra Shri, there is extraordinary opulence. Vijaya, there is victory. Bhuta, extraordinary strength. Niti, morality, everything is in that place.
So wherever Gita is, this is there.
This is there.
But another thing is, they might have Gita. If they doesn't have this misunderstanding, they might have the Gita. But generally, the culture in India is they wrap it in a red cloth and keep it in their worship. Is that okay, or what should be the right way to do it?
No, worshipping the Gita is a way of indicating our respect and reverence for the scripture, for the knowledge that is there in the scripture, for the instructions that are given in the scripture. So you worship for what purpose? To develop that respect and reverence, to be able to actually accept those instructions, find out those instructions.
But the point is, we don't.
So if you simply keep it just like a TV you have purchased, now you have to protect it. You have to have a nice cover for it. You have to have a clean place for it, and you should not throw some stone, or you should not accidentally do something which will damage the screen. Okay, all that is fine. But ultimately, you don't switch on the TV and watch the TV. What is the use of that TV then? So, book means it is meant for reading. It's meant for understanding. It's meant for application.
So, can the Gita be read any moment, any condition, even women?
Everybody can read the Gita. But in case they're not able to understand whatever is there, they have to approach a teacher who will explain. Just like a medical textbook is available. Now, you know English. So, just that you read a medical textbook and you become a doctor?
Not possible.
You have to be also trained You have to understand the terminology or some background may not be there to understand, to begin understanding. What is the subject matter? What is the relevance to you? How is it relevant to you in your particular situation? So all these particular kind of things, you require a guru. That's why Krishna says, approach a guru.
There's another misunderstanding or wrong understanding of the Gita. भगवान ने बोला, हमने सुना, ये बीच में गुरु लोग क्या करते हैं?
भगवान ने बोला, आप सुना, whether you understood exactly the way Krishna intended to explain it to Arjuna and the audience. That is important. And that's the reason we have so many people expressing their own opinions. If they really understood what Krishna explained to Arjuna, they would come to the same conclusion as Arjuna. But we see they don't come to the same conclusion. So that means they don't understood what Krishna explained to Arjuna.
If I read Bhagavad Gita and if I come to the conclusion of Arjuna's conclusion, then I don't require a guru.
Still, how is it possible for you to come to Arjuna's conclusion without understanding exactly the way Krishna explained to Arjuna?
So it's imperative.
It's imperative that you require a guru. Because also the scriptures say, the Bhagavad Gita Krishna says, everyone is born in ignorance. Ichcha dvesha samuttena dvandva mohena bharata sarva bhutani sammoham. Everybody by birth is ignorant. We know a child, it is born. Supposing you don't send a child to school, somehow it will become enlightened, somehow it will become knowledgeable. When its brain develops, it will have capacity to understand, it will read the books. But it never happens, it never happens. And also Prabhupada says one more thing, theoretical knowledge is one thing. Maybe a person who knows, has got some education, can read and understand simple English. Prabhupada is present in simple English. What about the application, the way to follow these instructions? I tell you, chant. Now, how should I chant? When should I chant? What should I chant?
For all these things, the spiritual master is
so many things. Practical application always requires a teacher.
If the Lord is a supreme teacher, then why he did approach the Guru? He
approached Guru. He went to Sandipuni Muni's ashram.
Why he had to go?
Why he had to go? Because he's teaching us, even though he knows everything, he's teaching us, he's playing the role of a Kshatriya, son of a Kshatriya. So as a Kshatriya prince, he went to Gurukul to learn.
Your Holiness, kindly forgive me because the audacity of my questions are the way the people ask. That is the reason I am asking these questions.
Okay, understood.
Jaisi karni, vaisi barni. As you sow, so shall you reap. This principle, is it mentioned in the Gita?
It's mentioned in the Gita only as regards certain category of activities. Krishna clearly says in Bhagavad Gita, 4th chapter, there are 3 kinds of activities. Karma, vikarma, akarma. What is karma? Karma are actions which are according to the scriptural directions for the purpose of our material well-being, for the purpose of satisfying our material desires. Vikarma is not caring for any scriptural directions. I will do the way I like to do, and somehow I will achieve my results. Okay. Akarma is a special type of activity called devotional service, which is not based on my material well-being, which is not ignoring the scriptural directions, but simply meant for ultimate good of me, understanding who I am, who is God, what is my relationship, and what should I specifically do to achieve this ultimate perfection. So, Krishna describes that if you do karma, then according to your activities, karma and vikarma is according to your activities, you get the results. So, vikarma means you will get suffering, you will get difficulty.
Basically, papa karma.
Karma. And punya karma is karma. What is it karma in the context of these 3 types of activities? Punya karma, papa karma. But bhakti is above punya and papa. So, bhakti, your well-being is already being taken care of by the Lord. But you so far were not knowledgeable about God is actually in your heart. He is directing you every moment. How is He directing you every moment? He is giving you the intelligence. Like we use your intelligence, if I am taking some food stuff, it goes to the mouth. Now, how is this action happening? It's exactly not going here, not going here.
There's another understanding among the common populace saying that आप अच्छा करो लोगों के लिए, किसी का बुरा मत करो, गीता वीता छोड़ो, अच्छा करो, अच्छा मिलेगा, कुछ और करने की जरूरत नहीं है.
That is a philosophy called Karma Mimamsa philosophy. Means you do good, that's enough. No need to bother about God and who is God. What? No need for that. So the defect in that is we do not know what is acha. Is there an absolute good that is universal for everyone? Otherwise, according to me, I like to eat chicken sandwich, chicken soup. So I'll kill the chicken. If you don't like to kill the chicken, you don't kill. You don't like chicken soup, you don't kill chicken. You like to eat something vegetarian. So vegetarian, non-vegetarian preferences. After all, God has created everything for us. So He has made the chicken, He has also made the plant. So you take plant, I take chicken. Okay. But then that's not what Kṛṣṇa says in the Bhagavad Gita. He has created everything for everyone, not just for human beings alone. So every living being has got a right to live. And to respect that right of every human being to live, we have to accept designated food. So for human beings, the designated food is patram pushpam phalam toyam.
It's not meat.
It's not meat. It's not designated food for human beings. There are carnivores for whom the designated food is flesh, animal flesh. Like a tiger will never eat grass, a cow will never eat flesh. They are all the creatures other than human beings don't have a choice. They eat what is designated food. They are not given the freedom to choose.
According to Gita, if someone consumes meat, what is the destiny?
So
it's my choice of food. Why?
Your choice of food, but you are killing another living being who has got a right to live as much as you have a right to live. Supposing I kill you, straight away it is criminal, murder. For my purpose, okay, for my good, whatever. But that is not the justification. You should recognize the right of others to live while satisfying your needs or while fulfilling your desires. That's okay. Same way Kṛṣṇa says, if you eat your designated food, then you are actually respecting the rights of others to live.
If I don't?
If you don't, then you have to suffer the consequences,
what is
which is sinful reaction. For example, why are some people born in very, very poor family? Why are some people born very ugly? Why are some people born very, very dull-headed? It's only because of the past sinful activities. So sinful activities in the past, sinful life, leads to birth. 4 things are decided by good or bad karma. Janma, Shruta, Aishwarya, Shri. Janma, birth in a good family, a noble family, is due to pious activities in the past. And one gets a lot of wealth, or one gets sufficient wealth at least, if not a lot of wealth. That is due to the past pious activities. And then good intelligence, or good education, or good knowledge, that is only because of past pious activities. And beauty, bodily beauty, is because of the past pious activities.
And contrary to this 4 are because of sinful activities. Motivational speakers. They say the first ever motivational speech ever given was on the battlefield of Kurukshetra to Arjuna by Lord Kṛṣṇa. Is the Gita actually a motivational speech?
In a sense, yes, but not the way people understand motivational speech these days. Now, Kṛṣṇa has got a definite purpose for which he has spoken the Gita. Yes, he is speaking the Gita to actually give a call to all the living entities, all the human beings at least, to come back to him who belong to him. And this is directly telling, though in the Vedas it is told in so many roundabout ways. Okay. But then he is not having any personal gain to be had from this particular speech or this particular action. So in that sense, it is not a motivational speech.
And about management students or management people who would derive principles of marriage from the Gita or any subject matter for that. Is that okay, or is that any shortcoming in that?
If you don't focus on the actual teachings of the real teachings of the Gita and you derive some subsidiary benefits from it, it's not against, nobody can be against it, but then it's like you have a television at home, it's a convenient stand for keeping so many things, the top of the television. So who would say don't use it like that? But then that's not the real purpose of television.
But then the purpose of the Gita has been lost.
Is completely lost when you try to derive some other benefit out of it, which is a very, very insignificant benefit.
But if someone wants to do it, it's not a sin.
It's not a sin. It's certainly not a sin.
But that is not the actual benefit.
That's not the real benefit of Gita.
Another most commonly said thing about ISKCON is you build temples worth crores of rupees and worship Krishna as the Supreme Father, and you find people, his own children, going hungry. Instead of Krishna never asked for it, that's what they say. No, he said, I am self-satisfied, I don't want anything else. So why you are building such costly temples, and instead we could feed hungry people? That's another accusation on
Okay,
ISKCON.
now building a temple does not exclude feeding hungry people. That is one point. Secondly, how much ever we try to eradicate hunger, like so many people are engaged in feeding the hungry. So many people are engaged. But there is a certain class of people who, because of their own past sinful activities, must go hungry.
There will be no hunger-free world.
There will be no hunger-free world as long as people are not giving up sinful activities. And you see so much sinful activities going on all over the planet, especially now. You see sinful activities are increasing. So suffering will correspondingly increase. You cannot expect people are becoming more and more sinful and we are trying to eradicate all the miseries and the problems of the world. Never. They never will happen. It's never to happen. So it's not that ISKCON is only building temples and not bothered about people suffering in different ways due to hunger or whatever. So we are having the largest midday meal program done by the private sector, by somebody other than the government, in feeding children with nutritious meals.
20 lakh every day.
20 lakh every day.
During the COVID also.
During the COVID also, crores of plates of prasadam were distributed, or food was distributed.
So why build temples? Krishna never asked for building temples. What is the necessity of building temples? You just teach message of Bhagavad Gita which Krishna taught.
See, Kali Yuga particularly, people are attracted to magnificent structures, beautiful structures, monumental buildings. So Prabhupada said, I can sit under a tree and I am satisfied living that way, and whoever comes, I'll happy to share with them this knowledge. But how many will come? If you have a magnificent temple, so many people throng that temple. So it's just a reason for attracting so many people to come, and maximum people take the benefit of whatever we have to teach, whatever we have.
There's like our temple here, pre-2015, number of people coming, and now number of people coming. It's a huge difference.
Second reason is, there is a second reason. This is a primary reason.
Primary reason.
Okay. The second reason, that the Supreme Lord is the greatest personality. Now, to communicate to the people that this is not an ordinary person or not some sentimental reason we are worshipping him. He is the supreme person. He is the greatest person. So, accordingly, you will house him in the most magnificent structure.
The expression of love of the devotees to the Supreme
More
Lord.
than expression of love, to communicate to people what is the stature and position of this person. People go by externals in the beginning, at least. Otherwise, we are actually worshipping a statue. In the eyes of common men, we are worshipping a statue, a metal statue. Now, why are you giving so much of care and attention, clothing every day and feeding and doing so many rituals morning to night, and all you're telling, actually we are serving God. He's a real person. So how do we communicate to people he's a real person?
Does the Gita also talk about deity worship or idol worship?
Yes, not idol worship, deity worship. There's a difference between deity and idol. Let me first tell you that and tell everybody that. Deity means a person who is present in a particular form.
How?
Krishna appears in that form for the sake of accepting our service. God is completely spiritual, so we cannot see spirit. We cannot see spiritual form. He's got a spiritual form. He doesn't have material form. So he appears in a form which looks like matter, but when we invite him to reside in that form and accept our service, when he enters the form, it becomes a spiritual form. It is just like a live wire and a wire which has no electricity flowing through it. Both look the same, but a live wire you touch, you get shock. You touch an ordinary wire with current is not flowing. Both look the same, but a live wire is different and a wire which does not carry current is different. Similarly, a deity is a statue. Yes, it is a statue to begin with, but then the Lord is invited to reside in that and accept our worship. So when he is invited, according to the scriptural directions, to come and reside, in his spiritual form, he will reside in that deity, in that statue. Then that statue is no longer, it's like a live wire.
Archa Vigraha.
Archa Vigraha. Live wire means you touch, you get
So he's standing.
shock. Or that live wire is connected to a device, you see, immediately the lamp will light up. So people, when they just see the Lord in the Archa Vigraha form, then only they can see. Otherwise, spiritual form they cannot see. So spiritual form, they are seeing the spiritual form. He agrees to be seen in that particular form.
To facilitate his devotees.
Facilitate his devotees and even the common people. Anybody who comes and sees the Lord in the form of the deity are getting the spiritual benefit.
So there's another organization which says, Bhagwan har jagah pe hai.
Why
तो
you
मंदिर बनाने की क्या जरूरत है इतना खर्च करके?
It is just like telling, God is everywhere, definitely, no doubt. But you don't perceive the presence of God everywhere right now in your present condition. So you have to be shown God in a localized form. And that localized form is the deity. Just like TV waves are everywhere. But unless you have a television set, the program that is broadcast through the TV waves, that has to be captured by an instrument so that you can see it in the way you can perceive this waves in the form of the program or the image or the sound or whatever.
In the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita, as it is preface, it is mentioned it's a theistic science. It's a scientific knowledge. How do you say this text spoken by Krishna as scientific?
Scientific means it is universal in its application. Krishna says, anybody who follows this practice of bhakti becomes my devotee. And Prabhupada has proved this. People from various walks of life, they started practicing Krishna consciousness taught in the Bhagavad Gita and explained by Prabhupada. They all became devotees. So we have, in our movement, we have devotees from all nationalities, all different kinds of social strata, all different kinds of, educational background. So it's universal in its application. That's why, because it's a science. Therefore, we say it's scientific.
That is the intent behind the saying theistic science.
Theistic science pertaining to God, specifically pertaining to God.
That God exists.
God. It is based on God teachings, God's form, God's...
scientific knowledge of existence of God.
Scientific knowledge of God.
God.
Everything to do with God.
That's called theistic science.
Theistic science.
Recently, there was a popular movie called Oppenheimer, where is big ardent fan of Gita. In fact, he spent years together learning Sanskrit to understand the original verse of the Bhagavad Gita, and he was instrumental in the atomic bomb creation. And he says, "Death I am," or "Time I am." So, what is the lacuna in his understanding, or is that correct understanding of his?
Now, the understanding that Kṛṣṇa as Kala is the destroyer of everything. Yes, that is a correct understanding. But then his conclusion that this atom bomb is another form of time itself is wrong. Now, according to Kala, there is a certain plan when what is going to be destroyed. It's not that simply destruction happens recklessly or anything like that, according to somebody's whims and fancies. No. There's a definite movement of time. Time is moving everything, actually, according to the Bhagavad Gita. So everybody has got a definite lifespan, and at the end of the lifespan, they have to die. And if it's not the end of their lifespan, no matter what danger they face, they will not die. So we have seen cases where people escape death, even though it was a very ghastly, dangerous accident. And there are people who, die even without facing any dangers or whatever. They just die. They're sleeping and they just don't get up. So death is according to one's lifespan. That is one thing you should understand. And secondly, whatever difficulties or dangers people face is their own past sinful activities for which the reaction is being given to them through nature. And all this is controlled by Kṛṣṇa, the Supreme Lord, who is the supreme controller of everything. So behind nature there is God, who is the controller of nature.
So actually Kṛṣṇa is the one who is actually doing it.
Doing it, everything, through nature.
Through nature.
But for the devotees, he does according to the devotees' desire to actually become a devotee and follow Kṛṣṇa's instructions and go back to God. For the others, it's according to their karma. So non-devotees, Kṛṣṇa gives them the results according to their own actions.
For devotees?
For devotees, he gives them whatever is favorable for them to make progress in getting closer to him and ultimately going back.
The normal general karma, law of karma doesn't apply to
devotees. Apply to devotees. This is a very important thing.
Since we talked about the atomic bomb, the war, that was the Second World War. There was the First World War. The greatest war ever fought was the Battle of Kurukshetra. Do you foresee any Third World War happening? Because there's a war happening in Ukraine, there's a Hamas and Israel war happening. Is there a possibility that there's a destruction of the world going to happen because of the Third World War? What's your thoughts on that?
The destruction of the world cannot happen until the time comes for the destruction of the entire world. Though wars are fought between people who are selfishly interested or who are demonic nature, yes. But there is no possibility until the time comes for the destruction of the entire world, which is the end of this day of Brahma. That is also described in the Bhagavad Gita. One day of Brahma is 4 billion years.
Oh.
So 4 billion years.
Just a day of Brahma.
Day of Brahma. So this wars happen, but then the ultimate control is with God.
Specifically the Third World War, any prophecy?
Even if there is Third World War, there was Second World War, but the world was not destroyed. There was First World War, it was not destroyed. So similarly, Third World War also, world will not be destroyed. May happen, may not happen, I don't know. I can't say it will happen. But even if it happens, it's not going to destroy the world.
Maharaj, now
war is one of the ways in which nature inflicts suffering upon those who deserve to suffer in a mass way.
How does karma work in that way?
Karma is always the reactions of a person according to the Kala. Kala unfolds our reactions, which is stored up in our body according to the past activities. So I have done some amount of good work and some amount of sinful activities, bad work. So accordingly, there is sinful reactions and pious reactions or good reactions in my body. So according to Kala, this will all unfold. So at some time I face some danger, difficulty, I go through some suffering or pain. Some other time I have joy, I have prosperity, I have.
So when there's a natural calamity or a war, like someone gets killed, someone gets injured.
Someone gets injured and somebody may not suffer anything at all.
Very complex.
Just like
it is.
COVID-19. Not everybody was infected. And some people were untouched by it completely. There were whole nations which were like practically hardly anybody is getting even COVID, not even reported. Like numbers of people getting infected and then how many were killed, how many survived, how many got recovered, all that. Not at all there. So this is all according to individual, but collectively it happens when all of them are destined to die at a time.
Your Holiness, a final message from your self. Today, the country or the world are speaking about one nation, one family, one something like that. So, any specific message?
Yeah,
from
there
the
is
Gita
a verse in the Bhagavad Gita from the Gita Mahatmya. Prabhupada quotes this. Ekam Shastram Devaki Putra Gitam Eko Devo Devaki Putra Eva Eko Mantras Tasya Namani Yani Karmapyekam Tasya Devasya Seva. And he says, in the present day, man is very eager to have one scripture, one God, one religion and one occupation. So let there be one common scripture for the whole world, Bhagavad Gita. Yeah. Let there be one God only for the whole world, Sri Kṛṣṇa. One mantra only, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And let there be only one work, the service of the Supreme Personality.
Where is it stated, Maharaj?
It's stated in the Gita Mahatmya, in the Padma Purana.
So this would be the concluding words of a wonderful conversation with Your Holiness.
Hare Krishna.
Pleasure talking to you.
Thank you very much.
Delighted and happy. Hare Krishna.